Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Terran between two channel favorites, because in the top right hand corner in game number 1, playing with the red Zerg drones, we have none other than Scarlett, and her opponent down in the bottom left with the blue SCVs, he goes by the name of Cure. Cure is on absolute fire lately. I've been very impressed by his games, and I haven't really seen Scarlett play in too many, well, series, tournaments, weeklies, whatever, over the last year or so. Lately, though, she's been signing up for some here and there, and it does seem that she's doing pretty decently well across the board. But if I were to pick a favorite for this particular series, I do believe that Cure should certainly be able to obtain the victory, mostly because Cure is an absolute monster. Now, Cure, he doesn't play a particularly spicy playstyle, right? I mean, Cure is very much so the type of guy you look at, and then you pay attention to his games, and you're like, oh yeah, I could probably go ahead and execute that myself too. And then you give it a try, and you realize, nope. Pro gamers are very good at the game. But Cure in general, he doesn't really play super micro heavy, he doesn't play particularly macro heavy. It's not that like mass momentum based style that, for example, Clem likes to go for, where he just piles layers upon aggression on top of one another. He's just playing a very normal style. It's as classic of a Terran approach as you can go for, pretty much, in 2025. And a lot of people therefore believe that they should be able to execute it themselves as well. Well, I wish you good luck, but as long as he's inspiring you, I guess that's all that matters. Scarlett, though, is going to start off here with a hatchery first. Gas geyser on the back of it, and then also a spawning pool. So we should be seeing that Zergling speed nice and early. Getting the metabolic boost upgrade going is absolutely important in this matchup. Mostly just because without it, it's going to be quite difficult to actually get the, well, Reapers off your front door. Scarlett actually pulling a bunch of the drones out right before 100. So the idea behind that usually, yeah, is to send a drone down to the third base and start up the third hatchery before the Reaper can really arrive. So here's the Reaper. I mean, this is going to be really close. 275 minerals. There we go. Perfect timing here by the Canadian Zerg. She's going to be able to start that up nice and quickly. The downside, however, of this build is that you won't have link speed done until quite a bit later. So say, for example, Cure would have decided to go for, like, I don't know, a triple Rex opener. So 3 barracks right at the very start and then mass Reaper production at this point in time. Scarlett would be in a bunch of trouble, because keeping that third alive at that point is pretty much impossible. But then again, it's not really Cure's image. Cure is capable of playing those threats, and he does mix them in every once in a while, but triple CC, Hellion Banshee is what I am expecting right here from the South Korean Terran player. We'll probably see a starport in... Oh, no, we're not. We'll see a second barracks instead. Okay. So this is another pretty normal style, of course. Maybe ever so slightly less popular. But triple CC 211, it basically means that you're gonna get that Stimpack done nice and quickly. And you should be able to finish up the Stimpack by the time that the Zerg player can really send the roaches to your side of the map. So by the time that the roaches finish up, usually if the roach warren starts up right about right now, you finish up Stimpack right around the time that the roaches can, at the absolute earliest possibility, right, arrive on your side of the map. Assuming we actually go for a tech lab. This could be a little bit risky. In this particular instance, though, Scarlett is not going for any of that. She is just going into the good old link speed, and now, well, a little bit of gas mining once again. But this is not looking like a Zerg player that is ready to go all in. Sorry, I'm too curious. Pause, please. Okay, keyboard issue. Thanks. Go, go. All right, very exciting. Keyboard issue. I feel like that's uncommon, you know? Like, either a keyboard works or it doesn't. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's like a hotkey problem or something along those lines. Starport is going to come up, and there's indeed that Stimpack. So this is by no means the fastest possible Stimpack that Terrans can go for. And actually, against this particular timing, I think Zerg could pull off a Roach attack, but it's not particularly common for Zerg players to go for Roach attacks. And usually, at least in my experience, when Zerg players... And this is based on absolutely nothing other than my gut feeling. Normally, when Zergs go for a really quick third hatchery, they will generally not go for an all-in on the back of it. I mean, most of the time, it's the macro Zergs that will go for the fast third over the quick Zergling speed start. And this means that usually they like to go for a quick fourth as well. A normal timed lair and all the rest of it. And Scarlett so far is certainly looking to do exactly that. Roach Warren will start together with a lair, but all of this is at about the 5-minute mark. It means that Zerg is already nice and comfortable, and, well, Scarlett once upon a time, like a decade and a half ago, so pretty recently, she made a name for herself with that extreme creep spread. And this is something that I really do appreciate about her playstyle still. I mean, look, all of the top-level players in 2025, they're very good at creep spread. But rarely do players actually put a massive emphasis on it. Scarlett still does. A little bit of harassment over here. Good micro, though, by Cure. Very nicely done. 2 SCVs do end up going down, but considering the amount of links, that's not the end of the world. Purposefully not lifting the depot just because it's an easy snipe this way. Okay. Little marine drop on the other side of the map now. 4th base is indeed here. Stimpack is done. I think there should be enough units in time. I mean, the queens alone should be okay. That being said, though, the units of the Zerg were kind of caught out of position. We do see some energy being used here to keep the one queen alive. She still died in the end, but she tanked a lot of damage. Already a backup base is coming up as well. Scarlett launches an additional 12 drones. Okay. Yeah, we're playing big macro. If I were to face off against Cure in 2025, I don't think I would go play big macro. I find Cure a very scary player. All right. Either way, Scarlett is going to try and do exactly that. Face one of the world's best Terran players currently by going for a very, well, quintessential normal macro Zerg style. So we have an infestation pit coming up. Yes, we have 1/1 upgrades together with roach speed. So technically she could go for a timing attack, but none of this is particularly lined up, right? Like the +1/+1 will not finish at the same time as the roach speed. The infestation pit and the amount of drones that she has right now too are big indications that she does want to just play up a macro game, and it means that Cure is very much so the player that needs to try and slow down the Zerg in whatever way possible. Now, because of the creep threat, Scarlett is going to be able to see this drop coming in from a mile away. Slow roaches or not, they're still going to show up plenty in time to protect this hatch. That's one of the big advantages, of course, of creep. Creep allows so much power. It's always difficult, right, to really, like, quantify the exact strength of something like creep. Like, something like movement speed, something like vision. It is extremely difficult to actually pinpoint exactly how much it adds. But they are... Ooh, nicely done! She gets one of the medevacs. Okay. Movement speed and vision are, like, 2 cornerstones of any RTS game. More is pretty much always going to be better. And that's exactly what creep provides. The main reason not to be spreading creep is just an APM limitation, and so far Scarlett does not seem to have any problems with that whatsoever. 500 and, well, something average actions per minute as she fires up a bunch of infestors together with the tunneling claws upgrade. So we have a hive coming, but there is no lurker den. Normally you would go Hydra den into lurker den right now. She's instead going Banelings. So we go Roach Ravager with Tunneling Claws into Banelings and Infestors. Nicely done here by Cure, though. I think he's going to be able to gun down this hatch with relative ease. Loses a bunch of Marines in the process. In the meantime, there's a new attack here on the left side of the map, too. But that was a good snipe here for the Terran. Still, Zerg has plenty of eco, and that fungal growth came out of left field. Not expected whatsoever. The siege tank numbers are big, but I don't really know if this is something you can continue pushing with right now. A little Zergling attempt at least. They're going to be used on over towards the bottom right-hand corner to shove those units off of the front yard, right? Wherever they are located right now. Get off my lawn. Those Marines have already killed a hatchery earlier. Ultras. Okay. We're going Ultras together with Vipers. So this is Roach Ravager into Tunneling Claws Zerglings with Infestors for support into Vipers together with Ultras. It's a very complex unit composition here for the Zerg, and not one that we normally see. Wow, very strange little attack. I can't believe she actually just pushed up this high ground. I don't think that's really going to work out too well. No. Zerglings, though, are easy to replace. And the bait! Woo! Never underestimate Infestors. They're so uncommon still. I really feel like it's a no-brainer, pretty much, to make like 2 Infestors when you get up to an infestation pit, right? When you start up the hive, Spend your next bunch of gas on like 2 infestors. They just seem to add so much value in pretty much any unit composition. Still though, it's now Vipers and Infestors. Together with Ravagers, Zerglings, and Banelings, it's a pretty tricky unit composition to micro well. In the meantime, Cure not really teching up to any spellcasters yet. So this is by no means an all-in here for Cure, but I really would like to see a Ghost Academy. Ghost Academy seems like a no-brainer to me. That Siege Tank. Ooh. A couple of biles just a centimeter or so off of its right flank. Yeah, it is a cleanup. It is a cleanup there for Scarlett eventually, but that was a pretty pricey one. In the meantime, Cure is launching his next attack towards that left side of the map, and this expansion for Zerg is not going to live for much longer. Ultras, however, are coming. So, Ravagers, Infestors, Vipers rather, Ultralisk, like all of those units are vulnerable to ghosts. We have no ghosts. Sometimes Terran players just kind of get stuck playing Marine Marauder Medevac tank, and it's kind of feeling to me like we might be having one of those games where Cure is trying to see if it's possible to win the game without any of those spellcasters. Now with good micro, I think technically it's possible, but it only should work if Zerg is heavily outclassed. And I don't think, I mean, Cure is definitely the favorite going into a series like this, but I don't think it's fair to say that you're heavily outclassed against Scarlett. Scarlett is always good. She seems to be practicing quite a bit more as of late. Like, this is honestly an impressive game so far. I don't think you could really consider this, like, perfect for the Zerg player, but she's trying out new stuff. And macro-wise, she's all over the map, right? I mean, we don't really see a lot of counter-attacking. The Tunneling Claws apparently mostly just here to try and maybe, I don't know, deal with some of the HP loss. Some good corrosive balls though, and these Ultras are gonna have a grand old time. Now the Ghost Academy starts up upon seeing the Ultras for the first time. Ultras, in general, not the best unit that Zerg has access to, but when they're not countered, they can do a lot of damage. Men with Gundo, also good. Okay. Still, this is good enough. This is good enough for Scarlett. So, her game plan is mostly just to try and not let the Terran get too much economy up. I actually think 5 bases for Terran is already one too many. I think this style is best for Zerg when Terran is kind of like stuck on, say, like 4 bases at most. A 5th is when they can start remaxing over and over and over again. Nidus Network coming up. Curious choice. Ooh, that Widow Mine was juicy. What about this one? Okay, that one dealt a bunch of friendly fire too. Yeah, and this is one of those games where Cure right now can certainly run away with the advantage. It is by no means a massive lead right now for the Terran player. I mean, Zerg still has a ton of bases and plenty of income. But a lot of Zerg players try to avoid the late game a bunch. Then again, look at this. Man with gun! You don't even have... These are tier 1 units! We're microing into the melee unit and we still win the fight? Ay, ay, ay. Ultralisks make me sad. Sometimes. Not all the time. But most of the time they make me kind of sad. Yeah. Anyway, we are going to see Ghosts out right now, and the personal cloaking upgrade is coming up for them too. Cure is setting up for a proper late game now. Starport, Fusion Core, a second starport that is, so we can go into those Liberators. The Fungals are lovely though. Next up though, with the next wave of units, Cure is gonna have a much better answer against this Zerg army in general. And this kind of feels like a Zerg army that is already capped, whereas the Terran army is still improving rapidly. Now, the Nidus Worm is going up in the back of the main base. It seems to me that Cure actually has not noticed it. This could be a problem, although at this point there's nothing inside of it. It's mostly just here. I actually believe this was mostly like a I'm gonna try and distract you type of Nidus. Turns out Cure didn't respect it at all, or he just didn't see. Either way, if Scarlett would have committed to it a little bit more, this would have been great. Now we have a fungal growth going down on the unit that is meant to counter the Infestor. Ultra runs away, just barely protecting that life there in time. Ultra going in on the left side too. We have a lot of structures here getting sniped as well. Loads of SCVs are dying. Okay. Yeah, Scarlett has been able to tech up. She's already got the +3 armor done on those units. So the Ultras are fully upgraded, other than the +3 melee. Chitinous plating is done. The speed upgrade for them is done too. Still, yeah, these snipes are lovely. Great work by Cure. Still though, this is a Terran player with a mass economy. On 4 bases, and we have another fungal. We have another fungal! Woo, on 4 bases, this would be difficult to replenish, but Cure can just remake whatever. So despite all of those attacks being very good for the Zerg, I am still a little bit concerned about it all. Scarlett though is doubling down. She's doubling down, more Infestors, more Ultras. We're gonna send in wave after wave after wave of units, and I'm assuming here that as this game progresses, the mineral count is gonna be more and more in favor of the Terran. Blue mineral fields here get crushed. One of the map mechanics that we don't actually see all too often on Tokamak. So Scarlett basically blocking off this section of the map, but then also saying to the Terran, yo, you can only get about half of the mineral fields here. It's a nice play. Cure going for a transition towards what seems to be Ghost Mech. Or at least maybe that's where we're going? If that's the case though, we really need to make sure, yeah, we keep on upgrading out of the armory. This is actually a pretty old school transition. Terrans rarely go for this these days. Instead, they go for Liberators. I don't know if it's the correct choice, if I'm being perfectly honest with you here. So rather than going Mass CC and Mass Liberator Ghost, we're going into mechanical units instead. Yeah, even though a lot of Ultras are dying, the Planetary Fortress is also gone. EMP does land there on a bunch of those, well, Infestors, reducing the energy. Now there's also a Nidus network, though, up in the back of the Terran's main base. Scarlett is trying to overwhelm this Terran player to the best of her abilities. Oh, another fungal. Man, those Ultras have so much damage output when the units they're trying to hunt down can't really run away as easily. Not every Ultra here will live, though. None of the Ultras here will live. Ooh, armory just barely stays alive. We need to repair it, though. Cure! If we're gonna play mech, we really need to keep this armory upgrade going. Oh, it's gone. We can drop a mule here, but it's too late. GG. Well, at least GG for the +3 vehicle plating. Okay, so Cure has been mostly denied at this point. I mean, this is still a Terran player with a bunch of orbitals, but Cure is playing like a mix of an old school style and then like the more modern approach. It seemed to me like he wanted to go full Ghost Mech, but with that upgrade going down, he's now going back into Ghost production together with Liberators. All of these additional factories, how many factories do we have? 5. Yeah, they're not really doing anything. There's also quite a few orbital commands though. Back in the day when we used to see this style a little bit more frequently, considering we've seen a bunch of CCs die, we used to not have that many orbital commands for Terrans either. Scarlett, though, is just going to try and continuously, well, sledgehammer this Terran base. Fungal. Another big fungal. Woo. Yeah, Ultras by themselves are kind of garbage. But Ultras with fungal growth look a hell of a lot better. And even though this fight over here is absolute carnage, right? I mean, that's not, in isolation, a good trade for the Zerg. The rest of the Zerg units dealt a bunch of damage to that base. And 20 additional SCVs have gone down. You Ultra still tanking a lot. Finally, Cure strikes back with a little bit of damage. Alright, 6 drones and a base. Then again, though, there should be plenty of mineral fields available still for the Zerg player to mine. Although I say that, maybe I'm not entirely truthful there. Corrosive balls are trying to go across this little section. Yeah, there we go. So we have some snipes going down as well now, though. On top of the Ravagers. Slowly but surely, Terran's economy is starting to dwindle. There's still a new command center down here. We still have a bunch of orbital commands, but this is by no means the norm when it comes to like 19 minutes of Terran versus Zerg. It's very common actually in the current modern meta for Terran to have like literally a dozen orbital commands at this stage in the game. Secures 46 workers. Wouldn't be a problem if he had 12 orbitals. Considering though he has 46 or 48 SCVs right now with only 4, makes the game a whole lot more tricky. Cure actually wanted to take the base over here, just exploring it though. He realizes there's a lot of creep already. Not going to be happening. Those new factories that he built have never actually done anything either. Scarlett is actually bringing his home, I think. It's not over yet, though. But I think Scarlett has her opponent exactly where she needs him to be. Those fungals looking powerful. All right. +2 air weapons coming up as well, together with the +2 armor. So Scarlett is going to be able to make a transition. We sometimes see like a mass muta switch. Technically an option. I mean, these are going to be 2-2 flying units before we have any flying units in the first place. Could be corruptors as well, though, just to try and deal with the libs. I wouldn't mind actually just seeing a round of corruptors at this phase. 8 SCVs go down again. This pesky little Zergling denying the entire left side of the map, it seems. Cure is no longer really focused, though, on the left side of the map, and Scarlett is now using that to her advantage. Scouting out any future bases over here, but effectively just taking this entire top left-hand quadrant of the map for free. Corruptors are coming now. New fusion core apparently has to be built again, because, no, we have one already. What? This is an expensive structure, Cure. We do not need a second fusion core. Maybe the plan was to, I don't know. I mean, didn't he already get all the upgrades? No, he didn't actually. Oh, dude, he wanted to go for a Liberator transition, then thought better of it, decided to put down the additional factories instead, and then forgot that he had already built a fusion core earlier. So all of the factories have been wasted, and then also the fusion core, the first one, has been wasted so far. It means that those Liberators and those Medivacs are not at their maximum strength. And it means that Zerg can actually push through here reasonably well. She needs to be careful, though. Microbial Shroud? Okay, she just threw down Microbial Shroud to protect against the Liberators. I mean, Liberators still deal an insane amount of damage, but cute little play. It's a little curious. I think maybe Cure saw the armory burning down over here and he assumed it was the fusion core. And then was a little hesitant to go back to Liberator production because he had lost the fusion core and he awkwardly decided to make that switch with like non-upgraded Liberators. Then he had to remake a fusion core when he could finally afford it again, but he never lost the fusion core in the first place. At this stage in the match, though, you don't actually look back at your main base that frequently unless there's a Nidus network there. Anyways, Zerg going back in again. No fungals available this time around because the EMPs are solid. Ultras are dying, but they are getting some decent value. Okay. Yeah, this planetary, or at least the attempted planetary here, is looking a little bit spicy. Scarlett, though, just able to replace this so rapidly. More Ultras, more Zerglings. This command center is not going to live. A lot of Zerg losses. Like, this is a highly inefficient stall from the Zerg. Way more resources lost so far than the Terran player. But Scarlett is making this work just with a much better economy. Now, the gas bank is going to dry up, though. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the additional Vespene gas geysers taken. Because it is going to dry up. Yeah, it's a lot of minerals, but not a lot of gas. Cure slowly taking up shop again in the far bottom right of the corner, or of the map, rather, and... yeah, there we go. Now we have the transition coming into play. Blue Flame upgrade for Hellions. Infernal Pre-Igniter coming up. We have some Hellbats already. The Siege Tank numbers are here. But the Armory burned down. So these units are not as well upgraded as you would like. So ultimately, this is going to be Siege Tank, Hellbat, Liberator, Ghost. It is probably the best all-round army you can make as a Terran. Assuming you're fully upgrading it. And that's exactly what Cure is trying to do right now. But... it feels like it's a little too late for that. Am I crazy? Like, Cure is pretending, like, usually you see this transition from, like... okay. Normally we see this transition when Terran is rich. Cure is not rich at this point. He just kind of awkwardly built the infrastructure like 10 minutes ago. And now he's starting to make use of it, but... unless Scarlett doesn't attack... I mean, I have a very hard time imagining Scarlett not attacking in this game anymore. But if Scarlett doesn't attack, then maybe Cure is going to be able to get away with it. And you know what? Liberators are setting up shop. There's Widow Mines. There's Siege Tanks already. We have Ghosts in the back. Can we please upgrade the libs, though? Like, we've now got 2 fusion cores and 0 upgrades out of the fusion core. The only other thing the fusion core does is unlock battle cruisers. And while I do love the idea of battle cruisers, we're not going to see battle cruisers. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to, but I find it very unlikely. Here we go. Scarlett goes down to the low ground again. Fungal growth, pretty decent. A lot of the Terran units struggling to run away. Ultra's just trying to power through. Keep in mind, though, these Terran mech units are not properly upgraded at all. Not at least compared to the rest of the Zerg army. Not even compared to the bio army of the Terran players. So the units are actually putting in quite a bit of work. Zerglings are now going to work on that first fusion core. Corruptors, though, have already used their caustic spray on the base in the far bottom right corner. And slowly but surely, Scarlett, is destroying this Terran. Well done. Like, Kura's playing some fantastic StarCraft so far in 2025. I mean, I haven't seen him play every single game. But, this is a well-fought victory by Scarlett, who obtains the win in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Ley Lines. Let's see. Kura trying to get a little bit too fancy in the first game of the series. I mean, I mentioned at the very start that he is a pretty normal player in the sense that he doesn't really mix it up all too much. I think that was actually Kura experimenting a little bit. So playing both a mech approach and then also a bunch of command centers and then also ghosts and liberators. I think it ultimately would lead to the ultimate, like, you know, perfected Terran army, but you do need a lot of money to pull it off, and Scarlett was not gonna let him get away with that. So now we find ourselves on the map Ley Lines, also a very normal map, so we might just be able to see a bit of a repeat from what we just had. I'm assuming, though, that Kura's taken away a little bit of info from the first game of the series. Nice grenade. Great snipe there of the creep tumor. Sniping the first creep tumors is actually very big. It means that Scarlett now apparently is going to go for, well, another one here again, but it cuts into a lot of the production here, right? So you have to decide, do I want to prioritize making queens? Do I want to prioritize getting that creep going? Or do I just want to get as many drones out as possible? The earlier you can snipe a creep tumor, the better it is, generally speaking. Still, though, Scarlett is still going to get the creep going very fast, I'm sure. This time around, Kura is going for a bit of a different approach, it seems, as we already have Hellions coming up, and indeed it is going to be triple CC Hellion Banshee. These are the build orders that Clem favors as well. The two that we are seeing so far from Kura in the series. Triple CC Hellion Banshee or triple CC good old Marines with Stimpec. Okay, so Cloaking Field here is indeed also added into the mix. So we should see at least 2 of the Banshees. And we could actually see a transition towards mech as well. Mech has been reasonably popular, especially on this map I found. So this particular series was played during a weekly cup. I've been casting a lot of events lately that are, well, significant tournaments, right? We've had quite a few big events in StarCraft 2 over the last few months, but this particular one is a Pegasaur weekly, meaning that there is money on the line, but not nearly as much as some of the tournaments that I've been covering as of late. And it does mean that players in general feel free to experiment a little bit more. This time around, though, Kura is not going to go for that mech style, so we've been seeing mech on this particular map in the GSL quite a bit. Kura being a Korean player, he's very aware of those styles, but he decides to not go for the Cyclone shenanigans that a lot of the players have been quite fond of as of late. It's just going to be double engineering bay, additional barracks added into the mix. And a lair coming up right now for the Zerg. It was once again a Roach Warren. It seems like we never really see the straight Baneling Nest at the highest level anymore. I mean, it seems to be really lost. I mean, we see it every once in a while, but it seems to have really lost a lot of popularity. It's a lot of roaches for stepping stones, right? It's a bit sad for the roach. They probably believe they're a real army unit. But really, they're just here to live until they are no longer useful. Yeah. Sucks to be a roach in 2025. But they still get made. Just rarely as like a main army unit, other than in Zerg versus Zerg. Anyway. I mean, you have to be respecting the roaches though. They can actually just straight up win the game. It's just that most of the Terran players at this point are way too good to lose a game to a roach all-in, but... Banshees get pushed away. 3 drone kills so far, and... Even though Cure tried to bite the head off the snake at the very start with the creep threat, the creep tumors are already looking pretty far forward again. Come on, Scarlett, we can spread more of it. Okay, there we go. This is her first-person view. It's always nice, right? Watching a StarCraft player in first person. Scarlett doing a lot of screen scrolling, interestingly enough. I find first-person view always... Yeah, I find it quite interesting. If you look at, like, for example, a Serral, he scrolls the screen as little as possible, especially when he's managing his bases. It only really happens during the fights. I mean, it's pretty much impossible not to be forced to move the screen around in the middle of a fight. But Scarlett right there, liberally scrolling the edges of the screen, or maybe holding down the middle mouse button to move the camera around. This is Cure's point of view. Yeah, caught him in a bit of a boring moment, huh? Also scrolling a little bit. Does feel a little bit slower, a little bit less frantic. Some additional macro hatcheries coming up, actually. So the macro hatcheries are really just here to generate larvae. There's the 2 infestors again. I love the 2 infestors. So we got a hive together with 2 infestors. Baling nest coming up. Roachling, a Ravager, Bane with infestors for support. Terran in the meantime going good old Marine Marauder Medevac. Well, actually, no Marauders yet, but we'll probably see some of those in a moment. They're good against roaches, they're good against banelings. They just take up a little bit too much space sometimes. If you want to go for mass drops. So Hive is gonna finish up here momentarily, and so far this is looking very reminiscent of the previous match. I'm assuming, therefore, that we will be seeing Burrow together with Tunneling Claws. Baneling speed, yes. And then probably an Ultra Cavern. Ooh, some fungal growths over here once more, catching Cure off guard. Command Center number 4, though, is going to finish up in just a moment. What's kind of cool, right? So a lot of Terran players have recently been going. So a very popular strategy at the highest level right now. And I've not really been casting a lot of those games, I suppose, so I don't think I've really shown it too much in my videos, but a lot of Terran players right now are going for a triple CC 8 Rex all-in. It's a very popular style. It's the build we've been seeing for many years, but it recently has like resurged again in popularity. And I think that's probably why these infestors are here. I think they're specifically there to counter that style, and as soon as you see them as a Terran player, I think you are gonna have a difficult time to try and deal with a Zerg army like that. So you kind of are forced to play that 4 command center style at the bare minimum. Ooh, some really good fungals again though, but ooh, the siege tanks hugging together, not ideal. Baneling speed just about to finish up. Adrenal glands coming. We have got an Ultralisk Cavern on the production tab too. One little Zergling being annoying. It all comes down to this particular fight though. We did have infestors on the production tab too. Fungal, fungal, fungal. Ooh, dangerous. Scarlett gets another corrosive bile set off, but here's those infestors and vipers. Okay, we have a fungal growth. More corrosive biles, and she backs up again. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of roaches from here on out. We'll probably see mostly Zerglings into Ultras. Now the vipers are here. Blinding Cloud. Beautiful. Fungal growth. Beautiful. Still though, you can kind of see that there is a bit of momentum lost for the Zerg, because this is an army just way more difficult to control. But ultimately, she shoves that Terran player off of her front door. Nicely done. This always makes me think about, like, Ravens in the absolute late game. Apparently, a lot of Terran players don't ever want to go Ravens because it is too hard to control. And in the meantime, then we see Zerg players, like, for example, Scarlett, focusing on all her spellcasters and then also a unit with an active ability. And then trying to dodge with the Banelings, of course, too, the maximum amount of damage there. We see them being forced to use all of their spellcasters in the mid-game already. Anyway, don't want to turn this into too much of a rant, but... no, we can't possibly be making a Raven in the late game. We need scans, man. There's no other way. Come on, dude. In the meantime, Scarlett now is in a really comfortable spot. Mass creep threat, loads of spellcasters, ultras are coming. There's a Nidus network as well, available very soon. And I'm a bit afraid that we're gonna get a repeat of the previous game. Still though, it depends on what Cure decides to do from here, right? So obviously Cure still has a good economy. Command centers are starting up, +3/+3 is starting too. We were late on the Ghost Academy last time around. And it seems like this time we're once more delaying it for a long time. Even though all the units that Zerg has here are, other than maybe Ling Bane, right, are vulnerable to this sort of thing. And this is honestly a scary attack from Scarlett. Does Terran have the correct units to deal with it? I mean, the numbers are there, but what about the actual units themselves? We have a fight over here that is mostly being cleaned up, or at the very least slowed down. Planetary Fortress does fall. Command Center gets denied by a pesky Zergling. Cure is going to retaliate by killing a single hatchery up north, but I mean, there's so many more mineral fields for the Zerg player to mine at this point in time. You will always gladly trade out like a 6th base for a 4th. Fungal. Yep, another nice one. The long arm of the Infestor. You know it can sometimes get the reach around. Siege tanks unsieged. Hello. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Cure decided to just straight up delay the Ghost Academy again. And to wander around the map with a large chunk of units, killing some units of the Zerg player on the flank, and then also, I guess, one of the hatcheries on the left side of the map. But on siege tanks, a little bit disjointed here and there. Not the correct type of units. I mean, we're still basically playing Marines and siege tanks at like minute 13. Zerg, in the meantime, has Viper, Infestor, Ultra, Ravager, Bane, Ling, and these Zerglings are fully upgraded. It's a very scary army. It is something that needs to be respected, and Cure evidently did not. That does mean, though, that Scarlett obtains the victory, 2-0 over Cure. Very impressive.